Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Worldwide Wrestling Series for July 10th, 1993. We are fast moving through the summer. We've only got a few of these left. Somewhere in the transition of the month of June, we have seen that Steven Regal became Lord Steven, wearing the blue and red cape and being much more persnickety about his wrestling escorts. Sir William, aka Bill Dundee, also here with William Regal. Regal with a neck cravat going right to town on his adversary, snaps the young man over. Chris Sullivan, I believe, is his name. Rolls through and gets what he can out of a process, and then we see Regal managing to try to get some sort of another neck cravat, followed by a couple of European uppercuts for his trouble, and a double underhook suplex on the Regal stretch. Regal basically says he hates Americans, hates what things have become. Then we go to a series of interviews with the Hollywood Blondes. They say they're open to fight anybody, but shouldn't have to fight Douglas and friends again. Also, they mention Steamboat and Douglas, as well as Scorpio and Bagwell. They're searching for Cactus Jack on the streets of Cleveland. The reporter can't find him and is very disheveled by all of this. This is covered in much more detail in our WCW Saturday Night Review series, which is, I think, 70 or 80 episodes deep now. Todd Zane and Jim Neidhart, your next enhancement talent match. Not anything worth writing home about. Neidhart actually teams with a very clunky Junkyard Dog not too long after this. Neidhart manages to kind of get a choke out after a few hip tosses and some clotheslines. Needless to say, as mentioned, he has a job because of his involvement with one Davy Boy Smith being in his family, not another reason. Sting says he can face anyone, including the Awesome Kongs, which eventually does come around about. Beach Blast hype continues. Sid with Colonel Robert Parker, who has debuted in the weeks to come prior here. Of course, Sid, this is not his first foray into national competition. That was a couple of years before. But Warren Quinn is the unfortunate victim of Sid. Colonel Robert Parker, of course, Robert Fuller, Tennessee Lee, maybe. Stud Stable leader in the later 90s. Anyway, hard shots by Sid and basic stuff here. Bear hug, release almost like a spine buster. Sid looks like $1,000,000, hits the power bomb, and obviously takes out his opponent. Parker promises that Sting will be vanquished whenever. Bulldog will be vanquished whenever. We go to another Flair for the gold. Flair obviously flirting with Fifi the maid, the woman who would eventually become his wife. Paul Orndorff out and says he doesn't necessarily like Flair, but they talk about kind of their history and how Paul Orndorff's tired of being called Paula, how it's unfair that the fans are treating him in that way. Arn Anderson basically tells him to step up and shut up. Rick Rude promises to win the WCW US title back at Beach Blast, and only two of the Beach Blast named, 92 and 93. Then we go to the British Bulldog and Vader, one of the better matches for this particular worldwide program in 1993 is this match here. Amazing to me because the Bulldog manages to all but power Vader around after a few quick deals here. Not exactly surprising, but at the same time, kind of. Vader manages the brawl early. Bulldog whips Vader into Harley Race and actually does a monkey flip on Vader. Vader's so big that his legs bounce off the ropes. Big clothesline by the Bulldog, and he is quickly getting into position to be in control. Big power slam by the British Bulldog on Vader, which at the time nobody manhandled Vader quite like that. Of course, Davey Boy had his singles matches, but they're going towards the pay-per-view. Sid and Vader versus Sting and the Bulldog. Brawl on the outside. Harley Race takes a couple of cheap shots along the way for his trouble there. Bulldog still manages to come back a bit, although Vader hits kind of the Vader bomb and goes after his adversary as often and as much as he can here. Vader then manages to all but crush his the ribs of his adversary, and again we see Vader with the fall forward slam, and ultimately then the Bulldog is having difficulty getting back to any sort of vertical base. British Bulldog manages a crucifix type maneuver, but Vader comes out the back door of that in a hurry. With about 2 minutes left in the program, Davey Boy goes off the ropes, tries a crossbody, but Harley Race distracts long enough for there to be some discrepancy in the pinning attempt, which is unfortunate for the Bulldog, to say the very least. Davey Boy goes down in a hurry, and Vader does manage to go after him. Davey Boy brings Harley Race into the ring and tries to cover him. Vader splashes Harley for his trouble in a midpoint spot there, and ultimately the referee has to make a decision. The match is discontinued, but Bulldog looks like $1 million going forward, to say the very least. Sid, though, makes a run in, and then Sid and Vader double team the Bulldog until Sting runs out to close the program. And there we go. We will move on to another edition here soon, but until then, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.